Our discussion today is about becoming a champion, and more specifically in tennis. So my question to you is, how do you become a champion? What is the formula? But more specifically, if you're about to get to the top of the rankings, becoming one of the best, becoming exceptional at tennis, is your current recipe going to take you there? And I use the word recipe, another word for process. So how do you know that what you're currently doing is going to take you to the top? Because again, we've used the example, let's fast forward 10 years from now. What if you look back in 10 years and you come to realize that, hey, I kind of like wasted time. Maybe more so, I kind of like worked on the wrong things. What if all of that time and effort that I spent was kind of like taking me to average, to mediocre? What if that's the case? What if you didn't have good guidance? I want to go a little bit further. Forget about guidance. What if you personally didn't take the time and effort to figure out whether you're on the right track, whether that recipe, that process that you are building is actually going to take you to something incredible? When I look back in my life, and I go back 10, 15 years, and you know that exercise, what letter would you write yourself now to that young person that's trying to make it? And it's incredible, the things that I would have done differently. Now, in a way, I had guidance, and in a way, I didn't have guidance. But part of that, not succeeding necessarily as a tennis player, that was on me. Because first and foremost, I wasn't calculated. I didn't study greatness. I would typically switch on the television and I would look at tennis players. And I would do what 9 out of 10 aspiring young tennis players do. They would look at the ball instead of zooming in on footwork, instead of zooming in on strokes, instead of especially zooming in on behavior. The one area that we can't zoom in on is the thinking that happens out there. You know, I saw highlights yesterday of Fokina playing against de Minaur, the Australian guy. Incredible match. Fokina up match point, third set, 5-4. I believe it was 40-15. And he lost the match from there. And afterwards, you see how devastated he is. Now, I would love to be able to go into his mind, his thinking at 40-15, and even more so, the thinking of de Minaur, 40-15 down. And then if I was able to do that, and as a coach, I would come to you and I say, okay, hold on. Let's look at this. Let's see it the way they approached it. Now, how do you know that your thinking is optimal? So the first thing that I want to tell you, becoming a champion takes calculation. Your job is to research, get the information. And that kind of like is not that difficult, especially nowadays, because there's a lot of information available to you. But where that information might actually be misleading is that you got to fact check. You got to go and say, hey, the fact that it's posted on the internet or that it's written doesn't make it true necessarily, because there's a lot of people out there trying to sell you stuff, sell you ideas. Now, there's a lot of good stuff out there. But this is where critical thinking will help you. And then secondly, somebody else's recipe, somebody else's process might not be the right thing for you. So again, I'm giving you a lot of, maybe I'm confusing you even a little bit here. And this is why it's necessary for you to be calculated, do the research, but also at the same time, make sure you have good guidance. So what I recommend with that is to have a mentor. Could be a coach, but it should definitely be somebody that's been through everything that you've been through, that can give you good guidance, together with all that information. So again, how do we become champions? First and foremost, we study greatness. Now I want to quickly touch on something here. When you lose a match, typically what would happen is you would feel bad, and then you would take the next step, and then you would try and understand it. Why did I play bad? What went wrong? How do I adjust? Excellent. That's a good step. But here's a big one. What do you do when you win? What do you do when you've had a good practice? There's the pitfall. Is that we tend to just feel good because, hey man, as human beings, we like to feel good. But isn't that how we become champions? By studying greatness? So when you're doing something great or exceptional, are you studying it? Now the next thing, and this is a little bit about perspective. If you're going to become a champion, you've got to be inquisitive, you've got to ask questions, you've got to understand. And you need to be positive as well. Remember, negativity doesn't lead there. So are you that player that play a 30-ball rally and then you make a mistake on the last shot and you're so negative about that mistake, and all you think about is that mistake that you made, but you ignore the 29 good shots that you had before that? So what I'm saying to you is, if you are that player, first adjustment you're going to make in order to becoming a champion is changing your perspective. Because remember, 29 good shots versus one bad shot means that, hey, a big part of my process is good. So first and foremost, be a little kinder to yourself on your way to becoming a champion. And if you can do that, you know, what I'm saying is, be hard on the problem, but soft on the person. Be positive with yourself. So now that we say, okay, we're going to study greatness, but it's quite simple. We ask a few questions. Say, okay, first and foremost, the question you got to ask yourself, what is my why? Why am I doing this? And you need to have a clear goal of who you want to be one day. A clear picture. And the more clear that vision is, that end product, that masterpiece, the easier it is for you to start putting things together. So if you're sitting here and you don't have a clear vision of who you're going to be one day, then guys, I got to tell you, the time is now. Go sit down, calculate, choose who you want to be, and then you start defining yourself. And then the next thing is, okay, what needs to happen? So we're going to ask a series of questions for you to become a champion. The what is again where we study greatness. We switch on the television and we see what they do. Now the what is also not that easy because it's broken into several different elements. It comes down to the mental, emotional, the thinking, it comes down to technical, it comes down to tactical, it comes down to physical. And we'll talk a little bit about environment and culture later. But all those whats, you've got to be careful, because once you understand what to do in order to become a champion, the price that you're going to pay on all these different areas, then that's only part of the battle. Because what I do, let me give you an example. You guys go out, you spend 6 hours practicing today. And of those 6 hours, How do you know at the end of the day that you're getting closer to becoming a champion? And you know, we all know about the book 10,000 Hours to Become a Champion. But I got to tell you, it's not what you do. Yes, what is important, and we can study that. We can look at what the champions do, and this is the same for anything in life. But the how. How do I do it? How I do the what is what develops the champion. The what in itself doesn't develop the champion. So see a bunch of you guys, and I would like to see that less and less. You're out there, and it's about what you do. Or even if you're not practicing with a group or a coach or an academy, you go and do what you like to do. But the emphasis must be on how you do it. And this is where, first, what? Why am I doing this? What do I need to do? How do I do it? And then you take the next step. And now you need to repeat it. I'm going to remind you of the quote. Excellence lies in consistency. But they missed something. Consistency of a bad habit, of a bad stroke, bad thinking, is going to lead to a bad end destination, to a bad result. So, excellence lies in consistency of how, quality, how I do it. And again, this is a formula to become a champion in anything. So how you do it actually is the key to becoming a champion. And then once I figured out how to do it, remember, it's not automatic, it's not cruise control. It doesn't just happen. So I need repetition. Repetition, this is where the 10,000 hours come in. Volume. Now let me tell you about habit forming, repetition, because the moment that habit is formed and it's automatic, I don't even need to think, because remember, tennis is a reaction sport. You don't have time to think out there. And that's why it takes so long to becoming a champion, because once that ball is in motion, I just need to call on my systems. And then when the system takes over, the forehand, the thinking, the tactical, I better hope that it is quality enough and consistent enough. So again, the how, and then the repetition. We cannot get away from volume. But we got to be careful, because volume only could also be volume of bad things, bad thinking, bad technique, bad movement. And then understanding that you can't just work on technique. What is your volume looking like right now? If we did a percentage of the volume of time that you spend on technique, physical, technical, well, we already said technique, tactical, mental, emotional, we can put in there recovery. What does that look like? And I'm going to tell you that the typical junior, it looks like 85% hitting, a lot of times technical, not even tactical. But I got bad news for you. Every single person at the top, take the top 100, they all have weapons. They don't have weaknesses. Yes, they hit it in a different way, but all of them have incredible technique. And here and there you see somebody with like some weird technique or something. But I'm telling you that what is going to make the difference? What's the point of difference between the guys in the top 100 and the other guys? Again, it's the thinking that we don't know. So you have to have that belief that doing the mental work and your daily preparation, are you spending enough time on the mental work? Why? Because we know at the top, thinking makes the difference. So how much time are you spending on your thinking daily? How much time are you spending on your physical? So then you look at that little chart and you say, okay, hold on. Look, I'm spending way too much volume on just hitting. And trust me, a lot of volume is necessary on hitting. Okay, so don't misunderstand me here. But it means that if you're going to be existing at the top, you've got to spend a lot of volume on your mental work. So how much time do you have as a player per day? Do you have enough time? Because I know you guys have school, a lot of hours, and I'm going to be in trouble for saying this, but a lot of wasted hours at school, unfortunately, right? That's a reality. So if you're going to be a top player, can you afford those wasted hours? Now, if you don't have the option to do a different type of schooling or a different type of approach, then quality becomes even more important for you because you have very little time. Now, typically what happens is if we go to school and we got all these responsibilities, homework, all this and that, which is very important. Don't get me wrong, academics, super important. Helps you with your critical thinking as well, necessary. But are you then still spending enough time? Do you still have enough energy to spend on the mental game, reading, researching? And do you get to the end of the week and you're fatigued? Or you're still recovered, you have a good balance? Because we know that when you're out of balance, that things become difficult. That's where we become emotionally heavy. Listen, emotional heaviness, that doesn't lead to greatness, just so you understand. So part of your job in becoming a champion is also balance. Now that we've talked about how you're going to do things, and we talked about repeating it, so volume of how you do things. Second part, not even the second part, the next part is go and test it under pressure. Practice matches. Play a lot of those. Practice tournaments. Yeah, I said practice tournament. Tournaments are simply, till you're at the stage to win, there to test your process under pressure. Is it holding up? And then when exposed to pressure, a little bit more pressure, a higher level, how are you holding up? And then if that process holds up, excellent. What's the next thing that I need to add in becoming a champion? So if it doesn't hold up, be careful that you start saying to yourself that I can't do this is too tough. No, absolute rubbish. You're good enough. Every single one sitting here, you're good enough. All you got to do is go back to the drawing board, figure it out, make your adjustment, quality, better, volume again, back to testing it under pressure. Now I'm trying to simplify for you how to become a champion. And it's not always that simple, but along the way we miss a lot of steps because we have volume but we don't have quality. We have quality, but we don't have enough volume. Or we don't test ourselves. We go to tournaments and we focus on result. It's like, no, it's not about result. It's about testing yourself under pressure. But society is telling you, Instagram, maybe mom or dad, maybe a coach, is saying, oh, no. You need to win. It's about scoreboard. Did you win? First thing when you come off, what does your friend say? Did you win? Yes, I won with my process. I don't care about the scoreboard. My measurement for success when I go to a tournament is how my process is holding up. So you got to change your mentality if you're going to become a champion. All champions are process driven. And again, your difficulty in your culture, your generation, is that everybody measures you by the only thing they know. And sometimes it's not their fault. So once you've tested yourself and you hold up, and it's automatic, then repeat it. Because excellence lies in consistency of quality. So now, when we then look at pros, and remember the what part, what do they do? There's been great research, and I know Tennis Australia has done a lot of work on core skills. What are the commonalities that we find with all the top tennis players? What are the things that they have in common? So I'm going to throw a few out there for you. Right? There's a lot more, but just for you to have some practical ways to evaluate yourself and to have a little map, even a little report card, and becoming a top tennis player. Number one, every single player out there, the point starts with the serve or return. So how good is your serve and return under pressure? If you don't have a good serve or return, you're starting with a disadvantage. So spend a lot of time on that. So core skill number one, serve and return. Core skill number two, offense, defense, and building ball. We get players and they're great offensively, but the moment they need to defend, control is taken away from them, they can't exist. Building ball, what is that? Look at Djokovic. The guy can probably hit 100 balls without missing. He's got precision, he's got consistency, he's got depth. Before power, we see a lot of juniors out there and they only focus on power. No, you can't be one of those. Precision, consistency, depth, then power. So we look at the next core skill that we can identify with all the champions. 2 physical weapons. Can't exist at the top unless you have 2 physical weapons. Have you chosen your weapons? Now I gotta tell you, if you're a short guy like me, you're not gonna try and make your weapon your serve. Maybe if I'm Riley Opelka or John Isner or one of those guys, yeah, I can build my game around my serve. But if you're a shorter guy or a girl, then you gotta be an exceptional mover. Which brings me to the next key point, as movement. Look at their feet. Only look at pros when they move. Look at how they move. The frequency, the quality, the balance, the power they create with their movement. Right? So another core skill is transitioning. If you switch on the television and you look at a match, you will see that points are not 1 behind the baseline anymore. Yeah, some points are 1 behind the baseline, but most points now are 1 baseline and forward. So the next time coach says, hey, move forward, attack it with your legs, choose not to camp out against the back fence. Because if you do that and you become good at it, right, at the top you will not exist. Go to the tournament, move forward, and fail. Learn how to do it better. Go back to the drawing board. Do it again until you figure it out. Or do you listen to your ego, or you start focusing on results, but what are they going to think if I lose this match because I tried to move forward? What are they going to think? Are they going to want you to be a champion? Maybe they want you to be a champion, but it's you that need to focus on what you can control and making that exceptional. So, over and above core skills, now I only touched on a few core skills. You're welcome to come to me and I can give you a full list of core skills. And then every 3 months you evaluate yourself, you set priorities, which core skills am I going to work on? And it's a long process, making all these really good. And we look at your player ID and becoming a champion. Look at somebody similar to you in stature, but unfortunately we can't measure that with thinking. What type of game do they play? This is where a mentor or a coach or somebody becomes important, somebody that knows or have experience, and they can tell you, hey, you're going to be 6'5". So we're not going to have you play back fence. We're going to have you incredibly good at the first 3 contacts. So again, becoming a champion takes calculation. It takes volume. It takes how. It takes repetition. It takes adjustment, failure. And remember that failure is just to show you the way. Keep evaluating yourself as you go along the process, not because you want to limit yourself, but because you want to make adjustments. Now, I want to talk quickly. Becoming a champion also requires an environment. Is the environment that you're in, training, is that leading to becoming a champion? Or is it like just slapping balls without thinking? Is it allowing bad habits? Is it just there to make you feel good? Or are you constantly challenged? Are you constantly put under pressure? Because we know pressure is very high at the top. Now, environment at home. Let's talk about that quickly in becoming a champion. If you grow up in a comfort zone, you must do extra work. You must challenge yourself. You must take your self-controlled way out of your comforts. Because remember, at the highest level, the guys that don't hold up under pressure with their thinking or their tolerance, because they haven't been exposed to it, those skills, the pretty skills that we can see, right? They're not enough. Now, there are many practical ways to do this, and our next discussion is a little bit more about the practical way of becoming a champion. Now, I'm going to give you a quote here. Every master was once a disaster. The difference is they kept showing up. As a tennis player, when you win or lose a point, it does not determine your value. It's only a reflection on your process. And accept it as the truth. That, hey, something in my process didn't work. Maybe it was my movement. Maybe it was this. And then you go back and you adjust. But you're going to keep showing up. So here is the key to it all. Why are you doing this? What do you need to do? How are you going to do it? You figure that out, now you repeat, volume. Then you test it. Then you adjust it. And then you repeat again. Most importantly, repeat again. That says, keep showing up. Guys, what you're setting out to do, if your tennis goal is Mount Everest, it's not easy. It's tough. There's a price to pay. I want you to decide on that final product, your goals, the level you want to play, and then understand the sacrifice that you're going to make, both time, energy, commitment. Are you going to keep showing up? And when you're having a bad day, so what we discussed yesterday, you got two choices. I push through my bad day and I commit. And I don't feel sorry for myself. Or, okay, fine, I'm going to bring my level down. I'm going to bring my goals down. I'll settle for average. I'll settle for mediocre. Don't do it. It's going to be the easy thing to do. Don't do it. You choose your goal. You choose your vision. You keep showing up. All right, guys, I wish you all the best. Okay, coaches will take you